Alright, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and tonight we have the one and only, the legendary. This man has been doing it for over 40 years in the music industry, man. Multi-platinum award winning. He's worked with Death Row Records and so many other legendary acts within the music industry. We got Tony T-Money Green right here, live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. What's happening with it?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. How's everything out in Detroit? I heard that America's slowly starting to open back up, man. So hopefully life goes back to normal for you guys out there in the 313.
Oh, yeah, they starting already. You know, they can't wait.
I gotta say, man, I'm jealous. Down here, we're slowly opening back up. We're going through 4 different phases, so we're in number 2. So hopefully we get the number 4 soon.
Well, I tell you what, never be safe, more safe than sorry, tell you that.
I most definitely agree on that one. But Tony, I know you're a busy guy, man, so I'm going to take you right back, man, into this interview. But I want to take you back to the year 1971, man, where you actually formed your first band titled the Original Roadwork Crew. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a bit more about that. And of course, how did you actually meet the other members?
Well, what happened, you know, back then in high school, you had all kind of members that played, you know, music, but I kept, you know, auditioning for groups and not making it because I didn't have a big bass amp like a lot of the guys had a big brand new refrigerator-sized bass amp. You know, back then we used to do it big. And I didn't have an amp. So, you know, the guys would never put me in the group. So I just ended up starting my own. And I started my own with a couple people that had amps and stuff like that that I knew I could borrow from them while they was in the group. And it worked out really good. It's been a road work ever since 71.
And I have to ask, are you the only original member, like, today, or is there still original members from 1971 that still play alongside you in Roadwork?
Well, no, there's still a lot of original members alive, but they're not working with me. They haven't worked with me. A lot of the old guys, you know, quit. You know, things didn't take off for them, so they was quitting the music. And, you know, me, I just had to keep it going, man. I didn't know quit.
And also, as well, in 1975, you actually joined the group, the Dramatics. I was wondering, what's the story behind that legendary group? And of course, like, how did you guys all get connected? Because I know you guys went on to do some phenomenal things.
Yeah, the Dramatics was when I got with them, they had like a few hits, and I used to really like them. I mean, I was playing at a nightclub that the Dramatics used to always, you know, frequent to, you know, mess with the girls, mess with the, you know, the bartenders, the girls that was serving the drinks and stuff. So the Dramatics used to always come in, and they were hearing me play with this band that I was playing. And then one day, after a while, you know, they needed a bass player, and asked me, you know, did I want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I want to do it, but I don't know if my mother's going to let me do it. So the founding member of the group, Ron Banks, had to come and ask my mother, could I go? And then she was like, hell yeah, he can go here and doing nothing in school, so take him. And the rest was history, man. I traveled all around the world with them for 17 and a half years before I quit.
And I also remember as well, man, that I think it was like, I remember reading actually that about 4 years after you joined the group, you actually earned your first gold record. And I have to ask, man, like, how did it feel to actually have a gold plaque on your wall so early on, like, not only just in your life, but also your career as well?
Well, look, I got with them in 75 and hung up a plaque in 77, so I thought that was really good. And as a matter of fact, that was their first gold album. The Dramatics have tons of songs, but none of the albums were gold or anything, and that was the first gold album. I wrote 3 songs on it, and I arranged the title cut, Do What You Want to Do.
And also as well, in 1978, yourself and Ron Banks actually teamed up with George Clinton to write one of hip-hop's most sampled songs, titled One of Those Funky Things. I was wondering, how did you guys get connected? And of course, what was it like working alongside George Clinton? Because I gotta say, like, you know, I mean, he's such a legend within the music industry.
Well, you know, George would be recording at the same studio that we recorded with the Dramatics. So Ron Banks knew George pretty good. And I asked George, hey man, if I get something, can I come to you to do it? And he was like, yeah, man, yeah. If you come up with something, Ron, let me know. So that's when Ron put the pressure on me, like, man, we got to come up with something for George, man. And, you know, I just was listening to that the other day when I did an interview. They played it, one of those funky things. It has been sampled by tons and tons of people. The Rough Riders, I mean, you know, it just goes on and on and on. Ice Cube, that sample, that dun 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 dun, that sample has been in a lot of records, and I've been seeing the money from it. You know, I remember when I first got a check, and it was called something, and I was like, man, I don't know this song, but it's got my name on it, and the check was $3,500. You know what I mean? I was like, I didn't do this song, but then I found out that it was a sample. So I was glad to be able to spend that check.
And I always wondered this, like, for instance, because obviously that song, like, you're a part of it, you're still getting money from different songs that sampled it. What if one of those singles actually go platinum? Do you actually earn a plaque as well for that, or is that just something that the contributing artist and the producer of that song, do you get a plaque for that as well?
Yeah, a lot of the labels and stuff will give you a plaque like that, you know. So I was happy to have mine, but I didn't get that was the Aqua Boogie. That came on the Aqua Boogie album. And I know at this point I can still get a plaque. As a matter of fact, I've been starting to collect plaques that I didn't get, you know what I mean, back in the day. So I've been starting to collect them just to have them from my office.
And also, as well, going into the 90s, in 1991, you actually created your own record label titled Hyped International Records. I have to ask you, can you tell our listeners a bit more about that, and what made you decide to start a label back in the 90s?
Well, what happened was I went over there in England, went to England with the Dramatic, and, you know, one thing about when you go overseas, everybody already know who you are, who your track record, they already knew who I was and stuff, so it was a guy that walked up to me and was asking me did I have any, you know, released music on Hyped. And I was like, well, not yet. I'm doing something. And I gave him a cassette of what I've been working on. And then he hit me back, man, when maybe 2 weeks later in Detroit, like, wow, this is a hit, man. I got all kind of people that would buy vinyl from you if you had it. And I knew I didn't have it. And I knew that I didn't really have the money to press up vinyl, but somebody taught me to say, hey, well, I've been burned before overseas, so, you know, if you want this, you got to pay me in advance, you know, and it worked. They paid me in advance. I ran to the pressing plant and had records pressed, and then I was able to distribute the records to England.
And I gotta say as well, out in the UK, individuals love hip-hop, man, so they most definitely probably ate up those records like it was candy.
Yeah, well, they ate up more of the R&B. I wasn't doing the hip-hop right then, you know. With the Dramatics, you know, we were all the kind of old guys that was saying, hey, this rap will be gone in no time. Let's just hang in there, rap will fade out, and we can get back to, you know, music again. But as you see, we were wrong. Rap never faded out. But we enjoyed that. They loved the R&B overseas, and I was able to come up with a few back-to-back that they really, really liked.
And also as well, just 2 years later, you actually became the band director and bass player over at Death Row Records. I was wondering, how did you initially get connected with Suge Knight? And of course, what is one of your most fondest memories just working at Death Row Records? Because back in the day, they were doing legendary things.
Well, you know, when I got there, they hadn't had the check yet from the Chronic yet, you know, so everybody was still kind of broke, you know. And but what happened was, it was a young lady who I was managing, David Ruffin Jr., and it was a young lady who saw him, because I had him on the Dramatic show right before we quit. I had him come out, get a moment of silence for his dad, and then he would sing a couple songs. So anyway, the young lady heard the couple songs, and we had went back to Detroit, and she called, and she was like, man, y'all should have stayed, man. David made a good impression. And I knew I had some place to stay out there because I had a first cousin. My cousin Felix lived out there. But I knew I didn't have a place for David. But she promised me she would help me, you know, and help us get there and everything, man. And she sent us some money to leave. You know, you don't really find people that do that kind of stuff. She sent us some money to leave to come out there. And, you know, the funny thing was, David used to play the Chronic every day, man. And I had just quit the Dramatics. And I was like, would you please cut that BS off, man? I'm tired of hearing that. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do, you know, now that I quit the Dramatics. And he would play that all the time, man. And before you know it, so when it was time to leave to go to California, I was familiar with it. And I drove 17 hours, and I just left it in the cassette deck. It was flipping back and forth, flipping. I never took it out. And I started really liking, I was hearing beat downs. And, you know, I come from the Dramatics, and we Be My Girl, whereas with Death Row, it's Pictures Ain't Shit. So I was a little confused on, you know, on where music was going. But when we got to California, 2 days later, the young lady took us out to a club, and David was dancing with her, and then he came back from off the dance floor with DOC, Warren G, and Snoop. And so I got a chance to meet them and everything, and Warren stuck around and was talking to me more. He said, yeah, I heard you was with the Dramatics, you play bass. I said, yeah, I play bass, man. I've been playing bass for years. He said, my brother needs bass all the time, man. Why don't you call him? And I didn't know who his brother was, of course. And, you know, but David did. He was like, T, that's Dr. Dre, man. I was like, okay. I said, yeah, well, he gave me the number, and we called for like 7 days in a row and never got an answer from Dre. But on that 8th day, Dre called the house and said, hey, can I speak to T. Green? And I answered the phone. I was like, yeah, this is T. Green. He said, yeah, this is Dr. Dre. I heard you play bass. You know, can you come down to the studio today? And I was like, hell yeah, I can come down to the studio today. So it was funny because we drove from Detroit to L.A. in a beat-up Impala. And that's the car that David thought we was going to take to meet Dre. But the young lady we were with had a brand new Benz. And I was like, she said, you guys should take my car. And David was like, no, we don't need your car. We, you know, he was like that. And I remember she helped us. So I was like, man, we're taking her car. When we pulled up in the studio, we had a 300E hard top. Dr. Dre pulled up in the exact same Benz, only it was convertible. So, you know, that automatically made us look like we had something going, you know.
And I gotta say, Dr. Dre most definitely noticed that, man, when you guys actually pulled up and had almost identical similar cars, man. He must, like you said, he must have been like, all right, you know, you guys definitely have something here.
Yeah, because if we would have pulled up in the Impala, he would have said, oh, man, this is a $50 guy right here. I can give him $25, $30. So we walked in the studio. He had nothing but a G-Thing playing. And, you know, I was hip to nothing but a G-Thing from the old school because it was just, I want to do something freaky to you. You know, it was an old record from back in the day. So, but when he had it playing, it didn't have bass in it. And he said, you hip to this? I said, oh, man, I'm hip. I didn't learn it yet. I can learn it real quick for you. And he said, no, don't learn it. I want to hear what you would have played. Man, and I played about 9 bass lines right quick, and he was like, oh, shit, I got to have you. I got to have you right now, because I was hungry, too. And playing bass is something that I do really good. And all you needed to do was put that drum beat and tell me to make up some stuff. You know, the rest was history. I done made up bass lines from Gin and Juice to Dogg World to, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just so many songs, man. Regulator remixes, and, you know, all the remix songs, you know. So my bass is on about 200 of the West Coast songs, so I'm excited about that.
And when you actually said, like, you know, you did pretty much a lot of the early work there for Death Row Records, and I have to ask, man, while I have you here, like, what was one of your most favorite ones you worked on? I know you probably got asked this a lot, but you have so many songs that you did just with Death Row alone. Like, what was one of your most favorite ones that you're like, you know what, this is it. This is the one I really enjoyed.
Well, I'll tell you what it was. We were doing the Poetic Justice soundtrack had came up, and John Singleton and Dr. Dre were in the studio trying to do the, trying to they were playing this song, but they didn't have permission to do the bass line. It was Bobby Womack's "Woman Gotta Have It." And that bass line is like do doom, da doom, 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 doom. And they had that on this song, and they couldn't use it, but they were really worried because they really wanted to get the Dogg Pound on this soundtrack, but John Singleton really wanted that song. And I said, well, Dre, just stick the song on. Let me hear it without the bass, man. You know, I'll get something in there right quick. And it only took me 5 notes, man, and it was over. I just played do, 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 do. And he was like, that's it, that's it. So that was on Niggas Don't Give a Fuck. That was the name of that song. I don't know if this radio station cuts or not.
Oh, we are completely uncensored, so have at it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But it was Niggas Don't Give a Fuck, and I really liked how that came out, and I just love the day that I saved the day. That was one of the memorable times, and the other memorable times is when I first got with Dre, I was giving him a little of my history and told him about me doing stuff with George Clinton. So one day I came in the studio, and he said, T. Green, didn't you say you know George Clinton? And I said, Dre, I told you that's my man, man. It's like my dad, man. I know him real good. He said, he's in Studio B. Can you get him to come in here? And I was like, man, come on. I went down to Studio B and stuck my head in the door. And then George turned around and said, I knew somebody had permission to be funkin' like that. I was like, yeah, you know I got permission. I said, but he loves you, Dad. You got to come on down here and meet him. And I took him down there, and Dre's mouth fell to the floor right quick. I enjoyed being able to do things that they weren't able to do. And immediately George did Can't See Me. That ended up being Tupac. But these were leftover songs from Snoop, really. We cut like 70 songs for Snoop. And then Dre had to narrow it down to 14 or 15, you know?
So what you're saying is, yeah, Can't See Me was actually originally meant for Snoop Dogg, but it just didn't make his album?
It didn't make the album, yeah, right. That was Snoop Dogg, yeah.
I gotta say though, I mean, me personally, I'm trying to picture Snoop Dogg on Can't See Me, like, because I know Tupac murdered that song. Like, he definitely just took that beat and rolled with it. I'm really trying to think about what it would sound like with Snoop Dogg on it. Did Snoop Dogg ever record the over top of that beat, or was it just to the point like that beat never made the record?
It never made the record. We were just cutting a lot of songs back and forth, and yeah, you know, when I think about it, the way Tupac did kill it, it would have been totally different with Snoop. So, but George Clinton singing it, "You Can't See Me," that was crazy as hell. And then he did that, and he did the intro to Snoop's album, man, like right on the spot. The dog that pee on trees is a bitch. So says Snoop Dogg. He just made that stuff up right on the spot, man. You know, George is prolific to do that so easy.
And also as well, man, during your time at Death Row, you actually had the opportunity to witness the development of the G-Funk sound. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners a bit more about that. And of course, like, did you actually think the G-Funk genre would actually be like as big as it is today?
Well, yeah, you know why? Because they was already using records that were big, you know? So what I do like is that I was able to implement original playing. See, whereas the Chronic was all samples, Snoop's album was all original. You know, and that makes a big difference when the royalties come in, for one thing, because you ain't splitting 50-50 with whoever wrote it before. So, you know, I know for a fact that me bringing the way I played, the smooth bass lines that I would come up with, changed it. It changed Dre's whole little idea how he used to do things, and before you know it, it was, you know, Gin and Juice and Doggy Dog World and Let Me Ride remix, and it was just all these different things that I was able to lay a smooth bass lines. I know for a fact I changed it kind of personally from where it was, because then I started noticing other people doing the hip-hop and their bass lines were bouncy, more bouncier. I played bouncy bass lines, you know. A lot of them guys, you know, they just played bass lines and what they thought would go with the record. I played something that I knew went with the song. It made a big difference.
And also as well, man, in '94, yourself and Warren G had the opportunity to work as a producer for Shaquille O'Neal's Biological Didn't Bother remix. I was wondering, how did yourself and like Shaquille O'Neal get connected. And of course, what was it like working in the studio with him? Because a lot of individuals tend to forget that he was actually a hip hop artist alongside his basketball career.
Well, it was really crazy, man, because they had us in New Jersey at a studio, like, way in the woods, like, and it had a basketball court in there, and it had everything in it, and it was my birthday. And we were going to be there for 3 days, and in one of those 3 days, my birthday was there. So I know I had fun with Shaq, man. He bought me a birthday cake. They treated me really, really special. But the thing is, that song, The Biological, didn't bother. I listened to the original, and, I mean, I didn't like it at all. And then when it came time for us to do what we do, it just made it really, really smooth, and it made it really nice. And the thing is, Warren really just lucked out because he had the players that could already set the tone without the producer. You know, Warren, at the end of the day, got the name producer, but trust me, our influence made a big difference on his whole production.
And also, as well, you were actually the writer, producer, and of course, bass player for the song My Money Right by the one and only Lord G that was actually featured on the Above the Rim soundtrack. I was wondering, what was it like just being in the studio working alongside Lord G?
Well, no, I'll tell you what, here's what happened. My nephew, his name is DJ Los from Detroit. I came in there, we were on the Chronic Tour, and the Chronic Tour, it had 80 dates, but we only did 4 before it was time to go back home because of all of the ruckus that was going on with Suge and the different people that was in the in the entourage. But what happened was my nephew gave me a cassette, and he said, "Uncle, would you listen to this?" My dad never really listened to my beats, and I listened to it, and I said, "All right, I'll check it out when I get back to California, bro. I got you. Let me check it out." So I know we were all in line to start putting our bids in to do the Above the Rim soundtrack. And so I hurried up and took that cassette, and I bounced it down on the 24 track 1 and 2. Because if they ever knew it was on a cassette, I knew I might have gotten in trouble. But it was, because I put the cassette on track 1 and 2, and then built everything from there. And, Lord G is a monster. I had just met him in Detroit, and then he moved to California, and then it just happens that we end up turning around going to California. So the next time he seen me, it was from the studio to Detroit. The next thing he seen me at Death Row studio, in charge. He was like, "Man, how you do that quick?" I'm like, "I don't know." But what it was is just Dre kept asking me for musicians, and I had the best musicians in the world. I mean, all my musicians were seasoned. Well, no rookies at all. So going in and cutting his records was something we were used to doing already.
And also, as well, you had the opportunity to work on the legendary song California Love alongside Tupac and, of course, Dr. Dre. I was wondering, what was it like working alongside the late, great Tupac? And, of course, can you tell us an actual story behind that recording session? Because that's probably one of the biggest songs to ever actually come out in the 90s.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret about that. That was one of the Snoop tracks again. We cut that with Snoop. I never did see Tupac do it. I just know that it was a leftover track, just like the other ones I was telling you about. And next thing I know, I heard it, Tupac had murdered it. But yeah, we played it, and that was just, Dre was just getting the best out of us and stacking them, stacking the songs left and right. So a lot of songs didn't make it, G's up, hoes down, a whole lot of songs that didn't make it end up making it for Tupac. So I was just delighted about that too.
Because I know I heard that California Love was intentionally meant for Dr. Dre to just do as a solo song, but then he brought Pac on. But I didn't know that. I thought that was originally from the beginning it was supposed to be a Snoop Dogg song.
Yeah, that was a Snoop Dogg track too. We did a lot of songs, man, for Snoop, and like I said, you got to figure out 14 of them out of 50 or 60. You know what I mean? Like,
it's definitely a hard choice, because I know back in the day Snoop was like at the beginning of Death Row, Snoop was their main artist. You know what I mean? Like Dre was
Right.
the producer, like he did rap, but he was mainly the producer. And I know Snoop Dogg was that main artist until Tupac and whatnot came along.
Yeah, and the good thing was, man, that having Snoop and having the Dogg Pound like that, and Warren G popping in. Warren G was lending a lot of hands on a lot of that stuff, and might not have got credit for it, but for the most part, they were all brothers. And I mean, so going in and doing something and coming out didn't matter. It was real easy. Going in, doing something for Nate Dogg. When Nate Dogg did he left Death Row and did his deal with Breakaway Records. I'm probably playing on about 9 of those songs. He did a double album for Breakaway, and I'm probably playing on about 9 of his songs. So Nate was a hell of a guy too, man. I really had fun on Death Row. It started getting hectic when people started getting hurt, and and then I got accused of stealing Tupac reels. And I'm like, man, what the hell did I look like, knowing that if I stole something, that I'm gonna pay for it? You know what I mean? Like, only a fool would do that. So they found the reels later who had them, but it wasn't me. But at one time they was thinking about killing me for having them, and I didn't even have it.
Yeah, I heard some stuff about Death Row, man. Like they obviously they make great music. Like clearly, it's still like gonna be like 100 years from now, it's still gonna be listened to. But I heard a lot of things about near the end of Death Row that things were just getting absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was getting pretty bad, and it got scary, and it's kind of hard to play your bass when you kind of shaking a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely. That's probably the time when you're like, you know what, I did some great work. Time to get the F out.
Right, because my thing is this, man. I got into music to have fun. I didn't even get into music to get rich. I just wanted to have friends and girlfriends and all the shit that come along with playing music. That seeing people get beat up, and Sam Snead got beat up pretty bad because of Tupac. Just seeing that kind of stuff, and then a lot of it was like, even me, I was rehearsing the horns for the MTV Movie Awards. And one time, one of Suge's bodyguards, who sent to watch us, he really just needed a job. So Suge gave him a job of being the bodyguard down there. We didn't need one. But then he saw me rehearsing horns and auditioning singers, and he was like, "Hey, Green, let me ask you a question. Do Suge know you doing all of this?" And I said, "Yeah, Suge know I'm doing." I said, "Well, I don't know if Suge know, but Dre know. I work for Dre. I'm the musical director." He said, "Man, I got to let Suge know. It looked like he's just doing a little too much." And I was like, "Oh, my God, is this how this shit going to be? Because I'm a too much doing guy. I can do 1,000 things." See, I didn't go into Death Row. When I first met Dre, I could have said, "Dre, I already got 2 albums, 2 gold albums already. I played on over 25 songs, several of them hits." I didn't do that. I was just glad to be with them, So with them, I guess not knowing that, I was looked at like, some beginner newcomer.
And I gotta ask, man, when Suge found out, like, did he have an issue with you just, bringing people into audition?
Well, after he found out that that's what I was supposed to do, he was okay with it. But it just scares you. It just scares you for nothing, like, and I'm not the kind of guy that's going to work nowhere that I'm not feeling really good about, So it was just time to go. I know one time it was Suge and they wanted to know who brought the Dramatics. It was like T. Green brought the Dramatics. Man, I'm going to kill that nigga. Who brought George Clinton? Oh, T. Green brought George. Man, is that motherfucker trying to take over or what? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just bringing to you shit, that I happen to have with me. Shit that comes with Tony Green, George Clinton, the Dramatics. Band members, musicians. That comes with me.
He probably doesn't understand either, you know what I mean? Well, back then he probably didn't understand that, if George Clinton cuts a record for you guys and that shit goes platinum, that's Suge's platinum record, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
You were doing him a
it out later. Later on, he figured it out, you know what I mean? As these things are going platinum and double platinum, and George Clinton is making a difference, And then they started seeing, the Dramatics along, that song with Snoop I think they said that alone did. I mean, it's just like 11 million copies. I mean, 11 million sold on that one. I mean, you know, I know one thing. I wouldn't even brought up the Dramatics name because when I quit, I quit, and it was breaking my heart to quit. But I was, you know, through with them. But the thing is, every day from the time I landed in death row, Snoop would be coming up, and he would be playing the Dramatics. And I'm like, oh, he playing this shit. And he would get out the car and look at me and say, you don't know nothing about this, D. Green. And I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. So finally one day he was playing one of my songs that I wrote for the Dramatics. And I had to show him the credits and show him and tell him who I was and what I did. And he was like, can you call him on the phone right now? I took Snoop's phone and called one of the leader of the Dramatics. And they talked, and the next thing you know, getting them here for Doggy Dog World, and the rest was history, man.
I bet you Snoop's jaw must have dropped, man, when he actually found out that you were in the band at one point.
Yeah, and I mean even now too, because he was here before the pandemic came, and he went backstage. You know, I went backstage to talk to him for a minute, and as I was leaving, he started one of the Dramatic songs. Because he always got DJ rigs in his dressing room, you know. So he started one of the Dramatic songs, and I knew he wanted me to come back. And we just both sang that song, man. We sang it, and we ended up going viral on Instagram. We were singing that song, man. He just loved the Dramatics, man. I just had to, I had to go with it. I was mad at the Dramatics, but at the same time, it just made me look even bigger.
And also, since we're on this topic of Snoop Dogg, and going into this year, man, you actually created your own show titled Hyped Up Live Sessions, and I noticed the promo on your website featuring the one and only Snoop Dogg. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about your show, and of course, where can we watch it, stream it, or even buy it today?
Okay, well, hey, check it out. It's on Facebook Live, but you can also get it on YouTube. It's just the numbers be so small on YouTube, I'll be embarrassed. Because on Facebook, the numbers are way bigger because that's when we're doing it. You're seeing the live thing going on right now. But Hyped Up Live Sessions was brought to me by a friend of mine saying, hey, T, we should do something to recognize artists in Detroit, in a big way. And I knew he had all the cameras. I got to specialize the hell of a room. And we just decided to put it together. And we've had some of the greatest shows. All during the pandemic, we still were going. We just didn't have an audience anymore because my place will hold enough to have a 30 people audience. But we didn't have any audience during the pandemic, and we just, came on live. And because of that, that show really caught on really good, and people were really just checking us out, man. And I saw Snoop and Warren G. They were in town, and I asked them, I said, hey, would you do an intro to my show, man? I need an intro, Snoop. He was like, yeah, I'll do it, T. Green. That ain't shit, man. What's the show? And I told him Hyped Up Live Sessions. And in one take, he did what he did. And Warren did one take, and he did what he did. So I was really good because that gave my show an edge over a lot of the Detroit, people trying to do shows. It gave mine the edge,
And I gotta say, I actually had the opportunity to sit down and watch the whole thing, man. I gotta say, it's absolutely phenomenal. Like, how often do you guys do something like that? Like, is it like once a month or anything? Like, when is the next planned broadcast for Hyped Up Live Sessions?
Well, the next plan is the 20th. We do it the third Tuesday in every month. And what's happening now is that we're on our way to digital TV through the Roku channel. We're gonna break through Roku off my cousin's. My cousin is on Roku already. It's TV 1061. But TV 1061 is going to launch Hyped Up Live Sessions on Roku. So now we got 89 million people that we can maybe hit on. You know what I mean?
But I gotta ask there, Team Money, because I know we only touch base on like a sliver of your legendary career this evening, man. There's a much more legendary stuff that you did. But I have to ask you, what is next for you in your amazing career? Because I know, you're 40 plus years in, but you're still going hard within the music industry. So is there anything else I've missed? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote while we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Well, we got a book, T. Money Green, Behind the Wall. The wall, you'll see the wall on the front of the cover. It's all gold and platinum records, but it's behind the wall that all the stories take place. And I tell tons and tons of stories. We were a year into the story before I could even get to Death Row. I mean, I did so much with the dramatics and my career around that time. So we had to just take our time and do it. It took about 3 years, but now it's finished. I'm getting ready to be read. They're going to read it, start reading it to me. Because I don't like to read books as much as I like to have books read to me, because then I can visualize the book better. So we're going to do that. And, I turned 65 my next birthday, and I'm, and it's kind of crazy, man, because I'm getting all of the old mail now, AARP and senior citizen gets, Medicaid, Medicare. And I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm still a rock star as far as I'm concerned. But I guess I'm going to have to bow down and deal with it. That comes with old age.
Hey, but you know what? Just because the government calls you old there, T, does not mean you actually are, man. Because I know you're still kicking, you're still moving, you're still doing some amazing things within the music industry, man. So you know what? Just because a piece of paper says it, doesn't mean you're not still a rock star in your fans' eyes.
Hell yeah, I'm still a rock star, man. The bass, because I'm still creating bass lines. And another thing too, I have 1,500 master recordings of my own too that never came out. A lot of times it might have been because people were scared to give me a deal because of Suge. Or some other times I got one artist, they said he sounded too much like Tupac. He really didn't. So, I just had to hear all kind of excuses. So I still enjoyed making the catalog and, and having all of this material. And because one day everybody's going to hear it, and it's some great songs. You're gonna love them. There's some great songs in this whole catalog. But I had a couple albums. I had an album when I left Death Row. I signed to Bellmark Records. They had Whoop There It Is, but they had a different version of Whoop There It Is, and they lost. So they ended up losing all the money that they would have used to promote my stuff. So, but I came to Detroit, and I had a line wrapped around the studio of people wanting to be down. And I was like, man, I got to help, man. It's just too many people. Even today, that's what the Hype of Live Sessions was about. It's so much talent in Detroit that don't get a chance to get, Motown left a long time ago. So, it's like, for some odd reason, I don't know why they come. But I tell you what, if Detroit ever get it back, right now it's floating around in Georgia. But if Detroit ever get it back, it's gonna be hell to pay. I don't think nobody at the West Coast or nobody else will be able to get it back. And Detroit is so hungry, and there's a lot of underground artists coming out of Detroit right now. T Grizzly is one of them. You got some Trick. You got some underground artists. But I tell you what, in a minute when they really give us the chance to take over again, I don't think nobody's going to ever pass the situation up. Detroit is just so ready with talent. So much talent. It's ridiculous.
And I most definitely agree that Detroit has some phenomenal, and I mean some phenomenal hip-hop talent, man. Like, I gotta say, some of my favorite artists growing up with actually came out of Detroit, man. And a lot of people forget Detroit when they think about hip-hop.
I know, yeah, but you got to remember, because with all the stuff that we've done, and I mean, here's what I really just didn't want to be like, is the Funk Brothers were on over 5,000 songs probably, and you never knew who was on those songs. I just didn't want to be that kind of musician. I wanted you to know T Green was on bass, and whoever else was on guitar and whatever, because it's not fair, man. It's bad enough. I got a little upset with Snoop when he did his on the Hollywood Star, and he thanked everybody in the world, but he never said the musicians. And I know for a fact that if Doggystyle was a cappella, it would not have sold 4 million copies. You know what I mean? So the music is so important, man, that I wish these guys would give the musicians the props. You don't have to say T Green, but if he said, I just want to thank all the musicians that was down on these projects, you know, I was waiting for him to say the musicians, and he never said it.
And I agree, man. You know, because a lot of those West Coast beats, like especially in the '90s, they weren't made by a computer. You had like, you know, bass players like you guys. You had drummers. You had, you know, you mean it was all made of an actual band. So without a band, you know what I mean, you got to do that stuff a cappella.
Right. Yeah. So I got a little heartbroken on that, but I got a chance to mention it to him when he came here, and you know, and it's all good. And it's like when you mention Lord G. Lord G's a phenomenal talent, man. He was like a guy who could make stuff up right on the moment. So, you know, it was really fun working with him, and me and him, you know, because at that time he was supposed to be signed to Death Row. So I'm gonna tell you, it's about 100 songs of Lord G and me that never came out, that just stuck on Death Row somewhere.
And I gotta say, that's why I brought up Lord G, because in my personal opinion, man, like you said, he was an absolute monster on the microphone, man, a lyrical assassin. And in my personal opinion, I always sat back when I listened to the Above the Rim soundtrack, and I always said to myself, you know, Death Row really dropped the ball on this individual, man. They should have ran with them, man, because at the end of the day, I think Lord G could have brought so much amazing stuff to Suge Knight's desk.
And you know, and Dre really liked him. So yeah, that was just some old. They from Detroit. You know what I mean? California, I will say, stick together a lot more than Detroit artists stick together. So right there, you know, that was just them sticking together in alliance as being California. You know, and Lord G was from Detroit. He was just in the wrong place. He was from the wrong place at the wrong time. But Dre really liked his talent and allowed us to go in the studio and start cutting stuff. And we were cutting stuff amazingly, like 5 or 6 songs a day. I mean, that's how Lord G does it. I mean, he's fucking phenomenal, bro.
But I gotta ask you, Team Money, like right before we part ways, man, I just have to ask, man, like, so does this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, like, just a chance for you to give shoutouts to whomever you want to give shoutouts to, but also, if you can, man, drop your social media handles. That way, if our listeners aren't already following you, they can stay updated on everything Team Money Green if they're not already doing so.
Okay, good. Well, I tell you what, we got Tony Green 731 is my Instagram, and it's also my email. It's just every name I came up with, some little young artist comes up with it, you know, like it's theirs. So I've always had to change, you know, some stuff. But Tony Green 731 is my Instagram. Edward Tony Green is my Facebook. And, you know, you find me there, you'll pretty much be able to find me everywhere else. I'm sitting up here with 8 Mile playing in the background because I'm in that movie. I'm in the 8 Mile movie way back in the day. I enjoyed that. Just a lot of good Detroiters on there, and I got a chance to do a role where I just, you know, sat there like security and let them walk by me, and I shook my head like Eminem was pretty whack when he came back in to rap with everybody. But it was fun. You know, I really liked that. So I'm just looking for my city to come back. I've recorded a lot of people. I got a lot of music. Tons of music, so when I meet new artists, I'm able to collaborate with them. I bring in new tracks up, you know. I either sometime only a special artist will I go to the vault and pull out some of my West Coast stuff. Otherwise, I just pull out a lot of the songs that's been developed and ready to go now. And I mean, a lot of people really enjoy doing it, man. We have a ball doing it.
And I gotta say quickly as well before we part ways, man, that I'm over here actually shaking my head because I actually never knew that you were in 8 Mile. And I think I watched that movie like a million times growing up, man, and I never noticed that. When you actually mentioned that scene, I'm actually picturing it in my head, and I'm sitting back and being like, oh my god, that's the man Tony Green. I did not know that.
Because when he takes the walk down the long hallway to finally go in to rap without choking, you know, then that's where I'm at. And I was really glad, because what happened during that time, when they were shooting it, they asked me, they said, didn't you say you're a rap producer? I said, yeah. They said, do you have any artists? And I said, oh yeah, because at the time I had like 5 artists. And they were like, we can use some extra people, so if you want to bring them, they can get paid. to being extras. Man, I got my little lazy rappers up, got them up and got them down there, and one of them actually got a chance to rap against Eminem in the version that didn't come out. Yeah, the CD came out, but it's all the plus the stuff that didn't make it in the movie, but his part still showed up. It was really nice.
But I gotta first and foremost say, Team Money, like quickly, man, thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of your time this evening, man. You shared some amazing stories that I know probably our listeners have never heard before, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I really enjoyed it, and I gotta say, thank you for years of amazing music, man. I just want to give you your flowers while we still have you here live on the air and just say, man, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have had half of this amazing music, man, because without you, Doggystyle wouldn't be what it is. Without you, The Chronic wouldn't be what it is, and so on and so on. So I just gotta say, thank you for just helping to give birth to so many legendary projects within hip-hop that we also adore today and also years ago as well.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I really appreciate that. And it's just, with me, you're going to see a lot. It's going to always be, until it's over, I'm going to always have my hand in something because I'm always nurturing or helping these artists. And, man, my next show, Hyped Up Live Sessions on Facebook. Hyped Up Live Sessions on Facebook on the 20th. Man, this is a rap. If you like rap, first of all, it's a newcomer named Drew Verde. I don't know why he's not sitting on top of the world already the best. He's better than Drake, better than all these guys, man, and I don't understand why and I just know it's Detroit, they shit on us like that. But I'm bringing him, you'll see him doing some great work with us, and I mean, that show, we got Black Lion Society, and an old favorite of mine named Tony Scarborough, and Merciless Amir. So we got some great, the lineup is going to be really great, and if you can, like I said, try the Hyped Up Live Sessions on Facebook on the 20th of this month, and we'll have a hell of a time. So it's going to be a nice show. You'll really like it.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be tapping in, and I'm most definitely gonna enjoy that. It sounds like a phenomenal broadcast, and I'm gonna make sure I invite all my Facebook friends to your page as well. That way, they can stay updated and actually join in on all the festivities as well.
Man, I really, really appreciate it. You can never get enough. Although I got a lot of Facebook, I got almost 5,000 of that. But my Instagram at Tony Green 731 at Gmail Instagram, just pull me up. And just come on and let's do it, man. I'm going to always have something musical and interesting on there. And I like to be able to send you guys some music because I can't get enough of it out.
Oh, most definitely. I'm going to be honest with you. If you send it, I'm most definitely going to spin it. I actually have the 2 songs you sent me, I think it was about last week. I actually have them in rotation, and I'm going to be playing them right after this interview as well. So they've been in the station's rotation for about a week, but I'm going to make sure they play back-to-back for our listeners that tapped in for this interview.
Well, I really appreciate that because it's great music. The artist is a hell of a, and man, it's just so much more to come from T Money Green, I promise you.
And I gotta say, I am most definitely looking forward to it. Thank you so much, T Money, and hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon. But I gotta say, for now, thank you so much.
Please do. Don't forget me, man. Keep me in rotation, brother. I'll be around.
Hey, most definitely. Anytime you want to come back, you just give me a holler, and we can definitely make it happen.
Hey, when you see Lord G in a couple days, tell him I said, "What up, dog?"
Hey, most definitely. I'll be sure to bring you up. No worries on that one. We most definitely will bring up the one and only Team Money Green.
All right, I thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much again, T. You have yourself a wonderful night.
All right, you too, man. Take care, brother.